start that again. So what I'll do this evening is we'll do looking at the SI joint and how to kind of what it does and how to work with it in a yoga class when someone has an issue with it. So if through this next hour or so you have any questions, just type them up for me or unmute yourself and ask a question and we'll address it there. So if anything's unclear, and yeah, we'll just take it from there. So I'll pop, Colleen, I'll pop you on mute, but again, you're welcome to unmute yourself anytime if you have questions. And then what we are going to start with is Donna Farhi often talks about the constructive rest position, and this is something that I have loved doing. It's something that I always start my Tuesday morning in the when I was teaching the Tuesday morning and the Tuesday evening class. I would always put the students in a constructive rest, and she says for about 10 to 15 minutes. And I'm one of those people who had terrible, terrible, terrible issues with my SI joint for so long. I was constantly having lower back problems and one of the things is I don't know if it was caused by yoga or if just doing yoga made it a little worse, because especially having done a lot of sport at school and afterwards, I was very active and very mobile. So sometimes with that wanting to do more and better and push further, it must have done something to my SI joint in my early days of yoga, when I thought I knew about listening to my body, but hadn't gotten there quite yet, or not quite with the understanding I have now. So the constructive rest, we will play a little bit with, and you can play more after the session. And then we will kind of go into a few other things she was talking about. So we'll start off by lying on our backs and literally completely flat. So you don't want to have any pillows, you don't want to have any blankets, you don't want to have anything just yet. But when you come and lie, as if you're lying in Shavasana, and when you lie here and you become aware of how your back feels, how your shoulders feel, how the pelvis feels, you kind of give yourself a rating kind of between 1 and 10. Kind of 1 obviously being terrible and 10 being, absolutely great. So kind of if I'm here and I think of how I'm feeling, I'm probably about a 7 this evening. Not fabulous, but not that bad either. And then from here we play a little and we test if bending the knees, does that make things feel more comfortable or less comfortable? And she's quite particular about the way you have your legs. So it's as if it's kind of like 2 cards stacked up against each other and the feet are hip width apart and straight. Very often in yoga, we often tell, to rest the knees against each other, and she's actually advocating that you make your legs work a little. So you're not actively engaging them or anything, but you're keeping them in the straight line, which is going to get your psoas muscles involved. And sometimes they're holding too tight and sometimes they're too weak. And they're the muscles that run from literally your hip joint, and they run up and insert just under the ribs, along the spine, under the rib cage, so on the sides. It's quite a deep set of muscles. And if you look at an anatomy book or something like that, you'll see the psoas muscles. And often if they're too tight, they can pull too much. And if they're too loose, there's no engagement and there's nothing happening. So often by having your legs just straight in this position will either get them to relax or engage whatever needs to happen. So if you find that having the knees bent is more comfortable than having them straight, then obviously you want to bring yourself there. And for some people, slipping a soft pillow under the head or just a folded up towel or something like that can be a lot more comfortable. So literally this is one position. Another one that you can often get your students to test and see if works for them is by, in our studio, we've got kind of like a hard block that's about that size. And I don't have anything here to show that. But what you would do is you'd use, again, a folded up towel could actually work just fine. And you place it underneath your buttocks and your sacrum. And for some people, just having, I mean, this is much too high, but for some people, just having a little bit of elevation of the buttocks is a lot more comfortable. And I was one of those people, just right at the beginning, when I did have problems, having that lifting of the buttocks on a firm and stable support was really, really nice. Oh, let me let Victoria in. I forgot to take that off. There we go. And then there's another one with a strap. I'll have to show you that one a little later, or some other time. And then another one was where you would literally put your feet against the wall straight. Some people were finding that having their legs straight was more comfortable. And then having, in the studio, we have those really long blue bolsters, and you would literally lie over a bolster. So your whole upper body is lifted somewhat and pushing in. Now, someone like my mom found that was really comfortable. And there's no hard and fast rule as to what is going to be more comfortable for a person. So you just kind of got to test with it. So V, just to give you a little update, welcome. Sorry, I forgot to let you in. We're going to look a little bit at SI joints this evening. So it's going to be kind of half practice and half kind of theory. We'll address that. Okay, so literally what you want to be doing is finding your most comfortable resting position, and you literally stay there for a good 10 minutes, she says. And it sounds like the craziest thing, but for me, who really did have SI joint problems, and it was a pain, after about doing this practice for a week, it literally disappeared. It was magic for me. So it worked like $1 million, but you've got to put the time and the effort in. And it's not that difficult if you can put a nice podcast on or listen to a nice meditation, but 10, 15 minutes in the morning and or the evening, and this will really, really, really help just to get everything settled, comfortable, and for me, obviously, it relieved a lot of pain and pressure. So while you just continue to rest there for a little, what often happens with the SI joint is because it's such a mobile joint, the sacroiliac, there are at the kind of towards the back of where the ilium connects to the sacrum are very fibrous, strong connective tissues. And those are, they do not allow much movements to happen between the ilium and the sacrum. However, kind of on the front side, on the inside of that, are quite weak muscles that can move quite freely and easily. And this is where, with Donna Farhi, she was saying that, I'm going to get my tissue box to show you just a second. So if you just imagine that's my tissue box as a yoga brick, she was saying that if you, very often in yoga, we often use the brick and go into Dvipadapitam, the little bridge where we're lying on our backs and our buttocks are lifted, and we place the sacrum onto this area. she's saying that when you do this, it's too unstable for your sacroiliac joint. And what you're doing is that you're pushing too much pressure up. So you're releasing there. And then when you are in the posture, you're then switching off the abdominal muscles and the psoas muscles. So if you're in this position, I'm going to have to use my legs and my tummy muscles, because otherwise my box is going to break. But when you're in this position, you can already imagine that the front muscles are going to be stretching and opening more, and they're already weak muscles. So you don't actually want them to do that much more opening and lengthening. So I'm not talking about kind of the muscles on the top. I'm talking about the deep lying muscles where the ilium and the sacrum are meeting. So very often you'll find in yoga we do this, and even more where we often then straighten out the legs. So what happens when we straighten out the legs is then we relax and we switch off everything. We switch off the abdominals, we switch off the thighs, and it literally is just the block pushing up and holding the body up. So what she was saying is that for people who do have SI problems, working with the brick that way is not great. And she's got, she's just saying in that active movements, dynamic movements, and to strengthen are a little better. So I'm going to just unmute everyone for a moment, and we can maybe just check in and see how doing that, lying kind of on your back, worked for you. All right. So Victoria, I see you unmuted. Welcome. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, Nina.
Good.
That is one of my favorite places to be. I just find that it allows the lower back to release, but also it kind of releases tension in my shoulders and collarbones as well. So I really like just lying like that with my knees bent and my feet on the floor. I don't have any specific SI issues, but it's a really comfortable place to be for me.
Yeah.
Oh, on the block, Victoria?
On the block. I'm fine on the block. I actually quite like that.
Okay.
Sorry, Nina.
No, it's fine. I'll admit, for me, I love the block as well. It was one of those things that I really love. But for me, and I'll show you. She doesn't say don't use the block, but she tells you how to use the block, like literally on this level.
Yes,
how to use one of the big bolsters for if you wanted to do Viparita Karani or something like that instead. So I'll go through those in a moment, but yeah, just kind of using the block at the highest point.
Yeah, that's a bit cool.
Great. All right, Colleen, how about you?
The most comfortable resting position for me is with my knees bent and hip width apart. I find when my legs are extended, I feel like my back is hyperextending. So yeah, so I do enjoy the resting pose with knees bent.
Okay, and you?
And
sorry, Colleen.
Slight, just a flat cushion under my head. That's the most relaxing position for me.
Works for you. Okay, and Taryn, how about you?
I must say the most relaxing position for me is with my knees bent. I do find, although I haven't had many back issues, when my legs are straight, I do feel a bit of tension. It's the first time I've actually seen the block being used. I've not been taught that yet.
Okay.
So it's very interesting and I'd love to try it.
Cool. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Right, great. So what we'll do is we'll go into a couple of bridge variations and then take it from there.
Great.
Shout if you have any questions. Right, so we'll, again, the normal rules apply with the bridge. Try not to move your head when you're in the posture. So if you're not unsure or you want to watch first, then have a look, and then you can always do four or five afterwards. So your classic bridge, where you working arms down by your side, feet and knees hip width apart, and feet close to your buttocks. And we'll just do a classic bridge where as we inhale, we're lifting up, coming up onto the shoulders or as high as you feel comfortable, and exhaling, coming back down. So do between 4 to 6 of those dynamically. And when you're doing it, take the attention into pressing down into the soles of the feet so that there's a sense of grounding into the earth. And feel that there's an engagement of the buttocks and the thighs working and lifting as you do that. Maybe doing 1 or 2 more here. And you can always play with your breath a little as well. So normally when we inhale, we come up. And as we exhale, we come down. Now, for just something a little different, we're going to try it differently. So we're going to inhale, and then as we exhale, we're going to lift. And then as we inhale, we're going to come down. If you were doing it the other way before, then change over. So that you're just breathing differently this time and seeing if there is any change in how you move or how your body feels. I find it so hard to do that because I'm so automatically trained to inhale and lift. And that's where your J-breath can really come in handy, is when you're doing something new or a little different to use the sound of the breath to help. Well, after you've done about 4 or 5 of those, maybe just release a little. Any kind of counter pose that works for you. Great. All right, so we will continue. One of the things that often we've all done or tried in yoga before is to use a strap around the thighs so that you're pushing outward into the strap to work into the legs. Now, apparently for people with SI problems, that is not a great thing because you don't want that. Because if you think of your I'm trying to think of a picture of how to work it. So if you're thinking of your SI joint here, and if you're pushing pushing into your knees outwards, you're kind of creating more space in the front of that joint, and you're squeezing into the back of it. So what you're actually wanting to do is, if you have a brick, or you just imagine you've got a towel or something, you want to pop that between your inner thighs, so just below or just above your knees. And you want to be doing your bridges this way, where again, you're then inhaling, you're pressing into that brick or tissue box. And as you're exhaling, you're coming down slowly. You're just breathing in as you lift up, coming up. And there's an internal engagement of the inner thighs, and that whole activation is right up through to the navel. And you should probably also feel that the little muscles above your knees are working. So you're pressing down through the feet and you're lifting up. So this, with working with a brick between the inner thighs, or just some form of something between the inner thighs, where you're getting a slight inward squeeze, that apparently is really good for people who do have SI joint problems. Just brings the focus inward a little. And you can feel as well that when you do use it, that there is that engagement of the glutes, the buttock muscles, Right. So again, after a few rounds, if you've managed to pop something between the knees, you can release. And then, if you do have a brick or something handy, if you place it underneath the sacrum, kind of the start of the lower back, and you hold it here, that is fine, because now your whole buttocks, your whole sacrum are supported. The only thing is that if you're working with a slightly larger person whose sacrum or pelvis is going to be longer than your brick or your tissue box, then you don't want to do that with them, because obviously then part of their buttocks is going to be over on the side. I'm going to grab 2 pillows off the bed here. All right. Playing as we go. Now you can imagine that this is possibly like one of those really big, this is not firm at all, but one of those firm blocks. And that is kind of the most ideal support, because now you can see my whole buttocks, my whole pelvis and lower back is supported by the block. And then from here, you can take it into your candle, which is a very kind of comfortable position. And even more comfortable, I suppose, is if you've got a wall or support where you can relax your legs against. So you'll find that even when you're lifting your buttocks up here on a support, there is still some kind of engagement in the abdominals. They're not completely lax. Right, so I'm just staying here for a nice minute. You need to release your legs, you bend your knees to your chest. If you're quite happy to have them up there, you can stay up there. And then breathing easily and comfortably. So I must say, even with just 2 pillows, it actually is quite comfortable. It is not as comfortable as a proper bolster with firm support, but it actually is quite nice. So when you're ready, you can release. Okay, you can take the goodies away. And then from there, I'll come up and we'll just have a quick catch up and see how that was for everyone. All right. All right, SV, I see you unmuted first. So how were those bridge variations and options for you?
It was interesting with the breath. When we switched the breath, I found going up, I could actually go a little bit higher, but coming down felt really sort of counter. I thought, what am I doing here? This is wrong. But yeah, it was interesting. So I really needed kind of like 2 out breaths almost. And
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because your out breath probably, because you're using your diaphragm and you're lifting your diaphragm up, so it's probably getting that lift up. So also anatomically, it actually makes sense as well.
So next time I'll try with 2 out breaths maybe. So have like an extra little breath in between.
Yeah. Okay, good. Sorry, I didn't tell you to bring like any equipment because I hadn't had any of that planned.
Sorry.
But hopefully there's stuff around that you can play with or think of. Colleen, how is that for you?
I also found exactly what Victoria said. Pushing up on the in-breath was quite different, but it was actually felt easier.
On the
it actually worked better. Yeah, so yeah, pushing up on the out-breath worked better. was actually very interesting compared to what the normal feeling is. I felt lighter in the lower body.
Okay,
So, yeah,
interesting.
same observation. And resting on the block is quite comfortable, but I think a bolster would be more comfortable and softer.
All right, Taryn, how about you?
Yeah, I also enjoyed coming up on the out breath. I felt a lot lighter, it's really interesting. Although it was quite strange to change your breath, as we are used to coming up with an in breath, and now you've changed it. But I liked it. Unfortunately, because I'm in the garden, I didn't have any blocks or pillows around. But yeah, I'm enjoying it, learning a lot.
Great. Yeah, just what also works quite nicely is if you've just got a normal, building brick. We often just wrap a towel around that. So if you've got a brick in your garage somewhere, just play around with some of these ideas tonight or tomorrow.
Thank you. Yes, perfect.
Cool. Great. All right. So then anything else anyone needs to say, or we move on?
Move along. Thank you.
So SI joints. One of the kind of biggest culprits, and we can do this while we're seated. We'll go into a few versions of Paschimottanasana. So you can keep your legs straight, just interlock your thumbs, and we'll exhale as we lengthen and extend forwards, and inhale coming up. So you can just move dynamically with your breath. If you prefer to have your hands forwards and down, do that. But just starting to release through the back of the legs and that. So one of the biggest culprits for SI joint people with SI joint problems, and even sciatica even, is when you're doing anything asymmetrical. Because as soon as you start moving the position of the sacrum, you are creating an instability. And I will admit that for a long time, I didn't do any asymmetrical postures. And it's one of the things that I also feel helped quite a lot. So a lot of my yoga for quite a while was doing symmetrical postures. And we'll go into keeping the right leg straight and bending the left leg. And the same thing here, just taking it forwards and back. Ardha Paschimottanasana. And you'll usually find, you'll notice that when you do like a forward bend with just one leg straight, you can automatically go a little bit further. And I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure it's because there's a shift and a release in the sacrum or the lower back there. Whereas if you were to keep everything straight, I definitely can't go as far. So it's also just having that awareness, or the students that you're working with, just to have that awareness that they're not actually pushing as far as they possibly could go, but to actually maybe only go to the position of where they can when they're working with a symmetrical version of that posture. And so once you've done a couple with that right leg, extend that left leg out, and then do the same thing on the other side. So the left leg stays straight and just that right leg moves in. And even something like Ardha Paschimottanasana, the half a forward bend, is or was a lot more comfortable for my back than something like Janushirasana, where the leg was out to the side, which we'll do in a moment. And you'll feel the difference in the body when we get to that. So often you think that, working with just symmetrical postures can be quite boring, and it is true. It can be quite boring to just do symmetrical postures, but it is just a lot safer, especially when you're in that phase where you need to rehabilitate. You don't want to take yourself any further. And if you have a student who is very mindful, very aware, and you tell, okay, if you do an asymmetrical posture, only go to maybe a third of your ability, don't go all the way. then asymmetrical postures can work. But if you hire Peter, like Colleen and Victoria and me, where you tend to just push and want to go, it is really, really hard to do that. Right, so once you've done pretty much same on both sides, just even up again and doing dynamically again with both sides. And you might find that things have loosened and eased up a little. And what you want to always think of is always keeping that spine long, neutral. So keeping that integrity of the spine. So you never want to round it or end up hunchback. Seeing if you can always keep the chest lifted. And even if it means going less of a distance. All right, so that Ardha Paschimottanasana is a little different to when we work with the Janu Shirshasana. So with the Janu Shirshasana, when you keep your right leg straight and you take it out to about a 45-degree angle, and then you bend that left foot in to your inner thigh, you can already notice that there's something happening in the lower half part of your body. And then on top of that, you're rotating your whole torso now to face over that long leg. So you've got like a little bit of a twisting movement. You've got a pelvis that is now not completely stable. And then you're still adding that forward bend motion. So again, you can do it to your ability. Again, I never go too far on this because even now that my back isn't too bad, I can already feel it tweaking here in the back on the right side, in the back hip. So I won't ever do or take this kind of posture too far. So, for example, if you had planned or you wanted to do something like Janu Shirshasana in a class, and you have someone who's got SI joint problems, instead of getting them to do this, rather just get them to stick with the straightforward Ardha Paschimottanasana version. Great. So the next time you're up, stay up, and just for a little bit of a variation, because we're here, slip that right elbow onto the inside of the knee. See if you can bind with your big toe and just allow your chest to open. Right. And literally for me, this is as far as I like to go, because I can feel that the left side here is opening and lengthening. I've still got the length and the lift on the right side. But for others, they really love extending that arm over and then taking the hand all the way towards that foot. My body structure does not allow for that. Because what I need to focus on is not to allow this leg to rotate open. The angle of this leg and this hip is already enough for me. So I really need to focus on pushing the knee and the elbow against one another so that this leg stays nice and active. And that's where all my focus is. Focus is on keeping this leg active so that there's no collapsing and that there's no weakness happening in the lower back. And then just allowing the chest to open fully. You just enjoy kind of and play with where you're at, where your shoulder feels comfortable. Sometimes it has to be down, where your neck feels comfortable. And if you've got the flexibility, then you can always extend and straighten through that right leg, and you allow the right elbow to come down towards the mat. But what you want to make sure of is that you're not collapsing down into yourself. You always want to try and keep yourself nice and open. Right. So when you are ready, you come out of it the same way you came in. Bring the legs together and compare how that right leg feels to the left. And if you kind of release back and relax, does the right one feel different to the left one? Does it feel more active, more engaged, more alive? Does it feel more kind of lighter or relaxed? And I love putting in little pauses in between, moving from one side to the other, just to kind of break the habit of go, 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 which seems to be definitely on a farm here, pretty much how my day's go, my whole day goes. So just to have that pause from one side to the other and to actually really feel how that one leg feels compared to the other, it's quite a nice, not just for the physical body a nice thing, but actually for my brain, just to learn to have that pause is pretty good. So swing that left leg out to about a 45-degree angle, activate it, and then bring that right foot into the inner thigh. And then rotate and twist your whole torso so that it's over your left leg. The chest is long. And again, I can feel exactly what is happening kind of in my lower back, in my buttocks here. And then if you want to move dynamically, you can do so. And just gently allow your torso to release forwards on an exhalation and inhaling coming up. It's funny because I definitely shy away and stay away from a posture like this because I just know that it is it doesn't really benefit me too much, but it definitely shows where a lot of the stiffness is as well. Nice. Just noticing how that feels. You might find that after moving again a few rounds dynamically that the muscles in the body kind of ease, warm up, and start to feel comfortable. And then just for kind of a little bit of fun and games, we'll bend that leg knee. You can bring the elbow onto the inside. Again, really activate, pressing that arm into the leg and the leg into the arm to avoid just that leg flopping over. And that left foot can slide as far away as you want. You want to have a nice bind with your thumb and your index finger and middle finger, opening up the chest. You can keep the hand into the waist here, or you can open up into the chest. And for those of you who love taking that arm up, if you find that you get lovely release and openness by drawing that arm up or over, then please, by all means, do that. But find kind of where you are able to create space and length. Notice if that leg collapses automatically or if there is that inward engagement. It's like when we worked with the brick between the knees. It's that same kind of pressure. It's that inward, the inner thighs engaging with that inward pressure. There you go. And then when you're ready, coming out of it the same way you went into it, coming back up, extending, bringing the leg back, and then giving them a little bit of a shake. Yeah, maybe just closing the eyes for a moment. Noticing the journey your body's just been on. Not too complicated. Noticing how you feel. Noticing how the sides of your waist feel. Super. And then from there you can open your eyes. A lovely strengthening practice, because we can always work with the abdominals, is working into a combination of Paschimottanasana, your Prabhujanasana, and then possibly even your birth. So for example, inhaling, drawing the arms up, and then exhale into any version of Paschimottanasana that works for you. Inhaling as you lift up. Exhale as you release. So this hand slip underneath your shoulders. And you can either just lift straight up from here, or you can bend your knees and lift up. Inhaling, coming up, drawing the arms up. And exhale, extending forward and down. We'll do a couple rounds dynamically. Inhale, exhale as you release. Bend the knees and inhale as you lift up into a tabletop. So either one of the options, either with the legs straight or with them bent. If you're keeping the legs straight, then see if you can keep your feet flexed and you can keep looking at your toes. Let me just keep going. So there are actually lots of fun little sequences one can do that are symmetrical. One last time. This time when you're up, stay up, hold it there, breathe. My wrist isn't too happy tonight. And pressing down through the feet, lifting the hips and the buttocks. If you've got your legs straight, you're pressing into your heels, you're lifting the hips and the buttocks as well, pressing down through the hands, opening the chest. When you're ready, you release, coming down, and release your hands and your wrists. Super. Right, so from here, leaning back a little, and bringing the legs up into a bridge. Into a boat. Right, so we can breathe in, release the arms out to the sides. Right, and again, so breathing in, straighten the legs, releasing back a little. Exhaling, coming up. Inhale, breathing the arms up. Exhale out to the sides and down. Inhaling, stretch the legs. Exhaling back. Inhaling the arms up, getting the length through the torso. Keeping the length as you release the arms. Inhale, working into that bridge. Into your boat. Up, lengthen, lift. Releasing into your active boat. So a really nice little sequence to get the fire, the heat, the warmth moving. Let's release the arms, release the legs, shake them out. Good. So see what comes naturally to you. For me, after doing something like that, I just feel like going into a nice kind of cobbler, extended cobbler diamond position to release. For others, it might feel more comfortable to be completely upright, to have the chest open. So see where you need to be. If you need to have the chest open more and to lean back, do that. So for some people, to be able to breathe and to open up, have the chest back and have the chest open is comfortable. For some people, just to have a kind of more closed, released, inward feeling is more comfortable. And it can even change from day to day. Lovely. Coming back up. Super. All right, so definitely what I can share with you when it comes to side joints. Doing your Adho Matsyendrasana by having your one leg under, the leg over, taking yourself into a deep twist with the arm and then twisting. Again, something like that is not great for me or an SI joint. It's one of my favorite postures. I love the sensation, the feeling, but I know that if I take myself and twist and push further, which is something that my body can do or will do, I will not feel comfortable the next day. So for me, always just drawing the leg in towards me. And again, it must be something to do with that kind of inward squeezing of the inner thigh, the working of the inner thigh more inward. That kind of feel safer and I feel more protected. And I get more of this a release through this buttock. So I'll never kind of push and twist myself too much in a twist like this. I'll focus more on working this leg in and up. As much as I'm working kind of the knee up, I'm still pushing down and grounding through that foot. So just, again, testing for yourselves, noticing how it feels when you kind of hold this leg into you and you work with lifting up and you work with more just twisting into the chest versus, which I know you all do because you've all got the flexibility, by going fully and more deeply into that twist and just noticing kind of how, when you go deeper into it, that band of muscle kind of along there feels. And you'll notice that usually there's a little bit more of a tweaking on that side. This is very technical class with technical terminology. So again, after holding it here for a little while, release that leg. Give them a little shake. And then again, compare kind of that right side to the left, especially in the lower back area. And then when you're ready, moving on to the other side. So remember the variations that are open to you if you've got knee problems or students who have knee problems and all of that jazz. Good. And then again, just seeing how it feels if you really just work that leg in towards you as you push down through the foot. And you just allow kind of like it. So you get the benefit of the twist, the opening of the twist in the opening of the chest in the twist, and the gentle kind of squeezing in the abdominal area, versus when you take that arm around and you really go a lot further and you push yourself a lot further. You shouldn't be doing that. It's not going to be good. So just comparing the two. And as much as you, again, pushing down through the foot and lifting up with this knee, can you make sure that you don't float that buttock up? Can you really ground down through the buttock? And I suppose what I also do without thinking, and now that I'm just thinking of it, is that I'm kind of pulling my buttock backwards a little. I think I do that automatically, and I think I might be doing that to stabilize the sacrum so that it's not kind of going in a twisting position. I'm trying to maybe pull that side back. And that's quite interesting. I never noticed that I do that. Right, and then release when you're ready. Again, giving those legs a little bit of a shake. And possibly just folding forward into a forward bend, always bringing yourself into something neutral after you've done something symmetrical, asymmetrical. And again, for some of us, a forward bend might be quite comfortable after a twist. And for others, a forward bend being up in kind of Dandasana might be a preferred option. We generally don't advocate in doing kind of a back bend after a twist because your spine has been rotating. But if you feel that you need to breathe and open the chest, then just lifting the sternum a little without actually arching your back completely back. And just having that lift of the sternum is fine. Super. Right, so just for a little bit of an inversion this evening, slip into all fours. Maybe do a couple of cat stretches to observe and notice how the spine and especially that lower back feels. Then when you're ready, tuck under your toes, lift the buttocks, press up and back into Adho Mukha Svanasana, your downward facing dog. There you go. Nice. And trying to get the buttocks high, trying to feel that you're able to get it kind of even on both sides. Allow the head to hang. If you need to walk out the legs a little, walk them out. And then slowly release. Good. Let the knees slip apart either into Mandukasana, or if you prefer Balasana, the child's pose, go ahead. And folding forwards into it. You might find that you need to have a little bit of support by the elbows, or you might feel that you're quite happy to release down. So what I found is that kind of early on, I loved doing things like Mandukasana. I found that releasing forwards and down gave me a lot of relief, but working kind of with my SI story, I've actually found that staying up on my elbows and really thinking of pressing my buttocks down into my heels so that my lower back kind of arches or rounds a little and spreads in that area is very relaxing for the back. So whereas when I release down, it's lovely and relaxing for my upper body, but when I stay on my elbows and I focus on my lower body and the lower back area, I can definitely feel that there is a beautiful sense of space. So with anyone who's got a comes to your class and has a back issue or just tightness or tension there, when you do your child's pose or your frog, you might just want them for that day to take the focus more into their back body, the lower body, and not so much into releasing forwards and down into the ground with the face and the head. Super. And when you're ready, coming out of your posture. And again, if you do need to lean back, you can do so. And then I'm just going to unmute you guys and have a quick catch up to see how your twist felt for you by just having that maybe slightly different awareness than usual. All right, so Colleen, I see you're unmuted.
I always find that Janusasana, Parivriti Janusasana challenge because it puts extreme tension into my shoulder area, and also I find that twist quite challenging. And I need to have really worked hard to warm up before I can actually, and have spent a lot of time moving towards it. And I actually neglected it during lockdown because it's not my favorite posture. So I really struggled tonight. It's so easy when you're doing your personal practice to do what you like. So it was challenging, but thank you. And I appreciated all the input about making sure the knee came in, and yeah, lots of good advice. Thanks, Nina. Appreciate it.
What else is there? Oh my word, Taryn, it looks like darkness has come down on you there.
Yes, but it's still a lovely night.
Okay.
Yeah, I found in the twist, I actually have, it used to be one of my favorites. I actually haven't practiced it very much lately, and I found it quite difficult to really bring your elbow across I preferred the way you do it, when you just basically hug into your knee. That one felt better for me. Although I used to be able to do the more into it twist in the past, but it was really nice.
Okay, good. Well done. And V?
Yeah, the revolved head to knee pose, I've got to really watch myself with that, because I know that I can do it, but I tend to push too hard, and then by the time I'm finished, it's really not good. So I have to really sort of hang back with that. But then with the Ardha Matsyendrasa, half load of the fishes thing, that's one of my favorite poses. I love it. But what I like to do is to use it as more of a psoas release instead of a twist sometimes. So just really hugging that front leg in and just letting your sit-in bones and your hips like melt down into the floor. But also, I've been playing a lot with eye positions, and I find that if I'm twisting, say, to the left, don't go all the way, but take my eyes to the left as far as I can and really stay there and just soften the breath. And that really relaxes the shoulders a lot more. It creates a lot of space. And it's really nice to play with that instead of just trying to put yourself into this really, really hectic twist.
Oh, that's such a lovely reminder, V. Yeah, that is lovely. All the eye moves when you're doing your postures and especially your twists, the somatic kind of work to that. And also with the head. Remember we did that with Jennifer in the somatic workshop. Yeah. That's a lovely reminder. Thank you. Yeah. So does anyone
that is something very important.
Yes.
I'm saying that is something very important, your eye movement and relaxing your eyes into a certain space. It really helps you into your moves and to also hold a move.
Yeah.
If you are maybe in a tree pose or a pose that needs to be held in a certain position, if you relax your eyes, it really takes you into a peaceful space where you can actually keep your balance in balancing poses and so on.
Exactly. You're 100% right, Taryn. Yeah, exactly. So any more questions, comments, ideas, anything else that you guys have ever picked up with regards to SI joint research, stuff you've read that might be helpful? No, we haven't gone into, we're still here.
We're all in yoga nidra.
You know what, Vida? You know, you were saying that when we were playing or experimenting with the Paschimottanasana, sometimes if you can fall deeply, it's really not that great for your lower back. So I think you almost have to train yourself not to go all the way and maybe go like 3/4 of the way and just see how that feels. Because you can really end up by hurting your lower back because those vertebrae fan out away from each other as you extend them forward, and it can really cause a lot of damage. And I've hurt myself, not recently, but over the years, when I'm really pushing into something. And then when you stand up, everything is so unstable. So yeah, it's a good
exactly, V. That's exactly it. And that's why you'll generally, when I do Paschimottanasana, you'll see that I hardly, like move that much of an angle. Or if I am going more deeply into it, my knees are always super bent. And that's one, because I've just got extremely tight hamstrings. But exactly like you're saying, you always think, you look at the pictures and you think you got to get down and yeah, your back, your vertebrae, they're just not made to do that. Unless you're a rubber band or someone who's done gymnastics since they were like 5 and whose body's used to it. And then even then, it's obviously still not great for those people to be doing that.
It looks like an easy posture, but it's not. It's actually a very extreme posture. I must say, I always teach it with bent legs, and not going far as well.
Yeah.
And I notice some people sometimes put it very early in the class, and it's really challenging. Yeah.
Exactly.
I must say you have really taught me quite a lot this evening concerning forward bends and so on, because one of our instructors some time back used to come and forcefully push us over, you know, and you'd really feel a lot of pain in your back. And when you get up from it, you feel like completely unbalanced. And we were just basically taught that you have to bend, you have to forward bend the entire way, as in your chest has to be on your thighs. And some people just can't manage it. So as you said this evening, that go as far as you can go, it really has taught me a lot, that not to force people to go to an extreme that they just physically can't go to. Not everybody's body is the same, and their bones are not the same as well.
Exactly, 100%. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. Well done, Taryn. Yeah. And I mean, that is one of the things I think that, you know, we've all done in our training as well, as we've been quite pedantic on the fact that, you know, everyone's body is different. And you can't force, you know, every single person into exactly the same posture or how you see them in the books. It's just not anatomically possible or great for a lot of our Western body structures. So yeah, cool. So any last questions? I see it's already 7 o'clock. So maybe next week I'm teaching again because Annika's away. So I'll definitely make sure you get a relaxation in next week and kind of maybe build on from what we were doing today a little. But otherwise, any other questions?
I have a quick question, not concerning today's class. I have an old injury. My shoulder still has not healed, and it won't ever heal, I don't think, completely. It dislocates. It got dislocated, and I never let it heal completely. So certain moves or extending my left arm, I can only go to a certain position. Is there anything that I can do to strengthen the shoulder? Because I really feel like if I get to a certain place, it's just going to pop out. And it does do that sometimes. It's really painful.
I'm just trying to think, V, you probably also, I'm just trying to, and Colleen, you with your shoulder, you probably have loads of experience on things to strengthen the muscle. I suppose just because I haven't, yeah, dislocated shoulders. I haven't done much research on that with regards to yoga, but I'm sure just kind of any kind of again, inward pressure where you small, what do we call them? Like isometric movements are probably good. Or even where you kind of draw your elbows back and you're squeezing your shoulder blades towards each other and you're doing small ones and strengthening that way. By working the muscles. V, what have you come?
Shoulders. Okay, so Taryn, you say you can go to a certain position and you know it's going to maybe pop out. So
yes.
Go mentally find what your 100% is and only go to 80%.
Okay.
And then what you can also maybe do is if I mean, I know that sounds like you want to do more, but 80%, if you know that can happen, is actually enough.
Yes.
I never thought I'd hear myself say that ever in a million years, but anyway.
Yeah, V is like your typical A-type personality. You will push, and go and push to the limit.
Yes.
So I'm very proud of hearing you say that.
Taryn, also, you also need to strengthen your shoulder cuff muscles as well. The whole muscle, all the muscles that support the shoulder joint, because it's a ball and socket joint. And it's not a yoga movement, but it's a physiotherapy movement where you attach a strap to maybe the door handle, and then you tuck your elbow in, and you gently just pull the strap away. And one of those bungee straps that extend, and you work it that way, and you work it outwards, and then you turn the opposite way, and then you pull it across your body. That was when I had frozen shoulder, that's what was one of the exercises I did for years after that, to strengthen the whole area of the shoulder. I'm sure moves in yoga that do that as well, but that really targets those support.
Yeah, that
muscles.
TheraBand is really such a good thing. Yeah, and like you say, I mean, yeah, you can use those for so many things, you know, as well. But you know, to do wrist practices and to hold, you know, to hold. So, swinging it around the door handle, and then, like you're saying, doing those movements across. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that's definitely a good physio move, and everyone who's had frozen shoulders or shoulder issues would probably have done that at some point in time.
Sure.
See what else have you
Thank
got?
you so much.
If I could just add one more thing about the shoulders, if you have a strap, and sometimes we use the strap around our upper arms when we're going into shoulder stand as a support.
Yes.
We think about other postures where you could use a strap. So maybe going into chair pose, face pose, Utkatasana, and just lifting up, and then pushing into the strap a little bit. But because you've got the strap supported, but you're also, it's kind of a similar sort of idea to Colleen's idea with the band, but just pushing against that strap, and it'll really hold everything in alignment, but you can still strengthen into those muscles.
Yes.
So that's my pull.
Yeah, that sounds great as well.
Yeah, and when you
Thank
do your
you so
yoga,
much, ladies.
just be happy. Yeah, just be happy or fine with the fact that, you know, you're not going to be in a position when you do your salute to the sun where you're going to be able to take the arms up. You know, they're probably going to be there, and kind of be happy and just work with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having the arms at that position. They don't have to be here for it to be that position. If this is where your shoulder is feeling healthy and happy, that's where it should stay.
Yes.
Victoria,
Yeah, I understand that. Thank you.
Yeah, Victoria, thanks for that reminder. I remember working with the strap, and it actually really, it's like a mental support as well as a physical support. You just feel easier and safer in the posture. Thank you.
Cool.
And then Nina, can you remember that strap jacket thing where you sort of like loop the strap?
Oh no, I'll have to use, because I don't even have a strap here.
Go to the stables and get a rope.
Yeah, exactly. I must think
Colleen,
of that.
Nina, do you ride horses?
No.
Oh, okay. I'm a horse rider.
Okay.
So you just say go to the stables.
Cow shed.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
I was going to say more
thanks.
to the cow shed or the chicken shed. I might be luckier there.
Oh, yes.
Cool. All righty. Well, yeah, lovely ladies. Good seeing you. Have a lovely evening.
Yes.
And we'll see you again next week, hopefully. All goes according to plan.
Thank you.
Constructive, thanks.
Cool. Take care. Lots of love.
Okay.
Bye, Victoria.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Nina. Thanks very much.
Cool.